So my name's Rob Clayton, as I said, and currently today I'm the Managing Director of Landmark. I've been with Landmark for about 19 years, started with IAMA back in 2000, and not long after that I was part of a merger, transitioned to the Landmark business. As of Monday, as Karen said, I'll be in charge of the combined Landmark-Ruralco business, and we're really excited about that. I've seen five brands and 4 ownerships in the Landmark business, so there's certainly been a lot of change, and I see David Boyd in the room somewhere, and I've got a bit of a history with David. G'day David, he was giving me the heads up that Dalgety is to be a great name for the combined business, just earlier out in the foyer. So I've been in ag my entire life. I love agriculture, I love the bush. My mum and dad and my brother are still up in Canamble farming, and it's the centre of the drought up there at the moment. It's pretty tough, and I'll certainly talk about the drought and how it affects our business later in the day. But I never thought I'd actually leave the bush. I never had any intentions of leaving rural and regional Australia, and as much as I wanted to work in agriculture my entire life, I certainly didn't aspire to be the managing director of the company up until probably 8 or 9 years ago. I remember the day really clearly, actually, is when my career path changed, and I was driving along. It was 2011, and I was driving along between Mortar and Clayton, actually, and I had Richard Gearhart in the car with me, who was at the time the head of the Agrium, now Nutrien retail business globally, and Richard Norton, who was the managing director at the time. So I was a division manager looking after about half of New South Wales, and Richard said to me, "Oh, what do you want to do next?" I'd had a bit of success with branch management and division management and so on. What would you like to do next? And I said, look, I'll take on any challenge, but there's one thing I will not do, is that's move to Melbourne. And 3 weeks later, I moved to Melbourne. So I guess what I'd say is you never know where your journey's going to take you, and you take on the challenges as they come. So I do get a lot of questions about Nutrien. Nutrien is a pretty new business. So Nutrien is the combination of the Potash Corp and Agrium business. So Potash Corp is obviously a producer of Potash Corp. Potash, it's a ex-government, Canadian government business, and it merged with the Agrium business, which has got nitrogen and phosphate production back on the 1st of January 2018. It's dual listed on the New York and Toronto Stock Exchange. It's about a $30 billion market cap. It's the largest rural reseller in the world. About 1,700 locations in about 7 countries, about 20,000 employees, and it's quite a big organisation. What does make it different for me, and again, I've had 4 owners in the Landmark business, is the whole management team and the entire business is all about agriculture. And it does make a difference. The management team from Chuck Magro down have all got farming backgrounds and understand the end customers. And I know I'm very biased up here, but I find that very different to some of the owners that we've had in the past. So as circumstances turned out, if I go back to the Landmark acquisition by Nutrien or Agrium at the time, it was in 2010, and I was working for Landmark, an AWB company at the time, and we were in a bit of financial trouble at the time. And I know there's a lot of journalists in here. You might have heard for the oil for food thing quite briefly. It wasn't a big deal, but it kind of changed a few things for us. So long story short, Graham Jacobs was the managing director of the business at the time, and they got a call from the Nutrien guys, or the Agrium guys at the time, said, "Oh, we're coming out and would like to do a tour around the business. We want to learn a bit about Australian agriculture." And obviously Graham must have thought, well, this is just another tourist that wants a bit of a journey. So he passed it on to Robert Payne, who was the region director that I worked under at the time. Robert Payne obviously thought, here's another tourist from North America. I'm going to give it to someone else lower down the totem pole, and hence I was, again, it's a strange coincidence, but I was again taking them, and I took them to Bill Zell's place at Clayton, and we went for a fly in his chopper, and obviously impressed them because they bought the business. But it wasn't that simple. We as a management team were sitting in Melbourne not long after that, and Alison Watkins, the the CEO of the time of GrainCorp, was actually in the office shaking our hands, welcoming us to GrainCorp. As you know, at the time, if you look back, GrainCorp had put an offer for the business and thought the deal was done. And a week later, we had the Nutrien guys coming in saying, welcome to the Nutrien business. So I was very conscious of that through the Ruralco deal, is the deal's not a deal until it's done. And I think we're done now, but there was obviously a risk of interlopers and that sort of thing all the way along the line. So you can't get ahead of yourself in these things. So since that date, back on the 2nd of November 2010, I'd have to say the business has changed completely. In 2010, we had a churn rate, so an internal employee loss ratio of about 27% inside the national business. And in the Western Australian business back in 2010, in the middle of the mining boom, it was 120%. So what that mean would be we would at 120%, we'd put a new person on in Western Australia and they would leave before the first year would end. Our clients were leaving us. Half of us hated us because we gave some money to a trucking company. Half of us hated us because they do deal with people on the ground. And fortunately, what I'd say since then, our churn rate's come to under 5% and the business has grown immensely. So we've put $190 million back into the business since then in upgrading facilities, new assets. We've added value to our growers, and we've also always got the productivity and sustainability of our growers mixed in with what we think we're going to invest in. We've got more people. Even in the last 3 years, we've increased our workforce by 10% in rural and regional Australia. We've invested into new technology in our digital echelon platform. And we're doing things that you can't do without a big balance sheet. And our live export into Russia is an example of that. It takes about $40 million every shipment for a long period of time, and if you haven't got a financial strength behind you, you can't do some of this. And that's why we are the only business that's exporting breeding cattle into Russia. As I said, the turning point for the Landmark business has really been the recognition of how important the people are on the ground. That's been the change. It hasn't been so much the Nutrien ownership or the Agrium ownership. It's really been Nutrien has recognised how important the people are in the business, the local relationships are in the business. It's meant that the business now, from a Landmark point of view, has grown to about 14% of the global Nutrien business, which is a fairly substantial agricultural business. And that's been the success of the Landmark business. So people ask me, why do we buy Ruralco? Why would we want to do that transaction? And the ACCC asked me a very pertinent question on the first day that we met with them: is why do you want to get big? And it's an interesting question. I guess I think part of it is people want to be successful, people want to grow, people want to bring their business together. But for us, it goes with our business model. So the Landmark and the Nutrien business model are very similar in that we're a bit like Netflix. So we like to have the national office develop the products, whether it's a financial product or an insurance product, or what are the solutions that require capital and expertise and what are the problems that our growers have got. And we give all the channels, if you like, to our distribution arms, which is our branches and CRT members and distribution points in the network. And then we allow them to pick which channel they want to watch effectively. And it might be a finance product, it might be an insurance product, it might be something that we've developed with Syngenta or Bayer or the multinationals. They're very important to our business. And I guess that's how the business runs. But they are delivered locally. And we don't force anything down anyone's throat. Our job is to make sure that we've got the right products for our local people with the local relationships to deliver those products. And we think we can scale that with the Ruralco business. We think that they've got some fantastic people in the business, absolutely, and a lot of them, to be honest, left our business when we weren't doing so well. So we'll be really glad to welcome some of those back. As I said, we think we can scale that. We think we can be not only the largest, but I think we can be the most efficient business in the agricultural space, in the retailer space in Australia. And that's important to our growers, It's tough times out there. It's important to our CRT members and it's important to our corporate stores as well. The combined business will be a big part of agriculture. So the combined business will directly employ 4,500 people in rural and regional Australia. The communities nationwide depend on those roles, and we'll have retail locations or retail representation in 840 locations in rural and regional Australia. Together, the business will sell more than 3 million cattle. It'll sell 13 million sheep, 600,000 bales of wool, over 1 million tonnes of fertiliser, and employ more than 400 agronomists nationally. We think we can reduce costs not by people in the bush, but through the supply chain and non-customer facing roles, non-customer facing systems. We'll maximise Landmark's 190,000 tonnes of fertiliser and storage, distribution, as well as blending and making sure we get the right nutrients to the right soil at the right time. We think we can work really closely with our R&D suppliers, the multinationals that really are about innovation and bringing productivity and sustainability to our growers. And I don't say that because Senagenna are here today. I say that because Nutrien for a long time have partnered really strongly with these multinationals, and we fully intend to continue with that. I'm really excited about the water business, and we were talking about the water business outside. It's something that Landmark hasn't got in our business, and we've often talked about water internally in the business and supporting our growers in water. And someone said to me once, if you're trying to climb trees, you don't employ horses, you buy monkeys. And I'm not trying to call the Ruralco guys monkeys. What I mean is we wouldn't enter the water space unless we have professionals, and I feel like we've got some professionals that are coming in this business. So we're really excited about that. Our commitment to bricks and mortar retail will stay. I can tell you that for absolute and certain. We don't see the world changing to online in ag, but having said that, you'll see significant investment from the combined Newco business going forward in digital technology. Becoming a 24/7 business that is the most convenient business partner for our customers to deal with in the future is at the forefront of our investment going forward. Our parent company in Nutrien is currently spending $300 million on revolutionising the ag retail sector, and we will shamelessly bring that down to Australia and roll that out here. We'll Australianise it. They don't do livestock over there. They don't do wool over there. They don't do insurance over there. And I want to categorically say, because I know there's rumours every time that one of these transactions happen, is that we are going to be in the agency business, and it's very important, and we have no intentions of leaving the agency business. So as part of the global business, in the Nutrien business, the combined Ruralco and Landmark business has a strong balance sheet, access to capital, and a track record of investment in agriculture. I want to talk a little bit about how we got here and the ACCC process. It's been a really interesting process for me. It's been extensive. It's certainly been opened my eyes to the ACCC and what they actually do. And I would give them this, as much as it's been frustrating, they certainly have the consumer in their heart. They certainly do the right thing by the consumer, and they ask all the right questions, and it's not a tick and flick typical government thing that you do. So as a consumer, that makes me feel really good that they're doing the right thing. As the MD of Landmark, it's been a long, frustrating period. Thank God they've got Mick Keogh, I would say, because he does know a lot about agriculture, but I think there's some other agricultural organisations in the Australian market can thank Landmark for educating the ACCC on what and how the process works in rural Australia. The concerns they had were clear. We were the number one rural retailer in Australia already, and we're buying the number 3. So on paper, I can see why it looks like a Coles and Woolies kind of event. I'm certainly not demeaning any of the Coles and Woolies business here, but I'd ask you to ask yourself, is the last time that the manager of the Coles or Woolies business left, how much of your business did you switch to the store or vice versa? And I can tell you categorically, we measure this stuff in Landmark, in the legacy business, and when we lose a key salesperson or a branch manager or someone that holds a relationship, 70% of the business goes with them. And ultimately, the ACCC agreed with us on that. These markets do operate at a local level, and there was extensive analytics that match that. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. This is about relationships in the bush. So as we move today towards day one is Monday. Effectively, we take over on the 30th of this month, but it's day one we are actually calling Tuesday, which is the first full day of trade. We've announced the leadership team yesterday, and we do know this is all about the people. And for that fact, on Monday we'll be in Townsville, and we're getting in front of 800 of the staff for next week. So we're doing a roadshow, town hall type meetings in Townsville, Brisbane, Sydney, Wagga, Melbourne, Launceston, Adelaide and Perth with all the people. We believe if we can keep the people, then we'll keep the customers. And then this is about hearts and minds and business protection in the first sort of 90 days. So as I said, we've announced the new leadership team internally yesterday. They'll take some time to get to know each other. They'll take some time to get to know the other business. It is a mix of the Ruralco business and the Landmark business from a leadership point of view. Then over the coming months, we'll see the business truly integrate. With locations, systems, processes streamlined, there will be changes in our business, but our absolute focus is the people. That means we'll keep our people as a priority. And again, we believe if we keep our people, we keep our customers. We'll also be revealing a new brand, and there's a lot of talk about the new brand, particularly internally, but externally as well. It's an emotional change. It's not Dalgety, David, sorry. But it is something that we discuss a lot internally, and I want to reiterate, for me, coming from a business that has had 5 brand names in the 20 years or 19 years that I've been there, it's not about the brand. It's about the purpose of the organisation. It's about the people in the organisation. It's about what that brand stands for. The reason we're changing the brand, and a lot of people will ask me this, is why are we changing the brand, particularly the Landmark people? We bought them. Why aren't they coming to our brand? Well, they didn't ask to be bought. In fact, there's a lot of them in the business that are working for Ruralco because they don't want to work for Landmark. So we're going to change to a new brand, and we're going to announce that brand on the 11th of November. I relate it to, I played a lot for the Canamble Bears when I was growing up, and I'm a passionate Canamble Bears player, and I would have never played for the Binaway Bombshells. No way. I wouldn't pull their jersey on for quids, but if I ever was rarely, and it was rarely I made the regional side, we'd all pull on the Country Rugby League top and we'd all be friends together. They weren't aliens. They weren't all the buggers that we thought they were. And I think a big part of this whole thing is getting everyone under one jersey and making sure we are one team. I do want to temper expectations around the brand. This is a big business. So we're revealing the brand on the 11th of November, and then it's probably going to take us 18 months to really roll this out across every one of the locations, the signs. We've got uniforms to do, we've got FBOS machines to do, we've got a lot of literature to do from Geraldton to Bombala. So it will roll out, but you can expect to see some TV advertising and quite a lot of what our brand means to us in February in 2020. So I want to talk a little bit about the season and how that's affecting us. This is a big opportunity for us, but there's a lot going on in the agricultural market at the moment. And as I said, I come from northern New South Wales, so I'm very attuned to the drought up there. I think back to the time that I was in the car with Richard Gearhart and Richard Norton driving between Collarenebri and Moree, and it was 2011 and the big flood was on. And the vivid thing in my mind was we were having to wait at some of the crossings for a truck to come along so we could follow the wake of the truck through some of the water holes. And it seems unbelievable now. As I said, I get up to Collarenebri with a friend I've got up there a bit, and it's hard to believe that was even happening really a short time ago. So dam levels, as you know, the Southwest government figures highlight that there is zero allocation in the Pindari, Copton and Lockyer valleys. Towns such as Stanthorpe, Tennerfield, Warwick, basically out of water. Emergency planning underway in Dubbo, Orange, Narromine, Nyngan. Walgett's been out of water for 12 months. Most of these towns have only got several months of water left. We're in a crisis. There's 220,000 people live in those locations. I feel like we're in a third world country at the moment. I'm not up here to be political, but I really hope that the government thinks longer term about this once the drought does break. Because I think all of those that lived through the 2003-04 period through to about 2007, this was all the stuff that was in the paper then, and then it rained and everyone forgot about it. So I hope ScoMo, maybe Trump will send him a few dollars to tip in for this maybe. It'll be a dry trip to the moon, I think, if we haven't got any water to put a water bottle on there. Okay, so we all know how tough it is. There's abattoirs that are running out of water. You know, we know feedlots that are trucking in water. We know that apple growers that are bringing in water. Any of these perennial crops. You know, again, I was talking to some of the guys outside. I feel for those guys that have got, they're trying to figure out what to do. And for Landmark, it's no different. So in central New South Wales, we've got 25% of the crop planted this year, and yield will be about 10% of the 10-year average. Northern New South Wales will be the lowest summer crop plant on record. And cotton this year, well, I don't know what the latest forecast is, but I think the 10-year average is about 350,000 hectares, and I've heard less than 100,000 hectares, so it's pretty tough. Landmark Central New South Wales crop chem volumes are back 40%. Fertilisers back 45%. New South Wales cattle numbers in August 2019 were approximately 1 million less than 2017, and New South Wales sheep numbers for us are about 3 million less than December 2018 to June 2019. So there's definitely an impact on our business, and we feel it. But what I would say, we're fully committed to our staff and we're fully committed to our clients in those areas. I've got a little analogy that I use internally, and I hope it doesn't mean to be disrespectful, but the growers out there are trying to choose whether they feed their breeding herd through or they sell them off. They love their stock like we love our staff, and we've already made the decision. We're feeding through. So we're proud of that. We're proud that we've got a balance sheet that allows us to do that. People would say we're lucky because we're in a national business, but I said this to Paul earlier. Yes, we have got a national business and it allows us to kind of use some of those other, but we're always in drought somewhere as well. So what goes around comes around. We're not only just there in the drought times either. So as I said earlier, we've appointed a new leadership team only yesterday. And we've got a new role in that, which is the head of agency. And it's not your normal head of agency, so the wool and the livestock and that sort of thing. It's really about a future of that agency business. So Andrew Slatter from the Ruralco business is taking on that role, and his role is going to be all about technology, all about livestock, insurance and agency 2.0. We're starting that with a $15 million investment into our new livestock processing system. That tool will bring e-contracts, e-sale yards, all that sort of digital technology live to customers, and the tool will harness the data that is now sitting in the top drawer of a lot of growers' desks. We want to make sure that we use the existing data to make our growers the most money that they possibly can. So when Daniel's bidding on the cattle at the auction, he knows what they're going to do, what they're going to yield, and get the grower gets the right price for their cattle. I think this is a big step forward in the technology part of the livestock insurance and finance business, the agency business, the wool business, and I think it's a tangible commitment from Landmark and the Newco business going forward into that agency space. We're also investing $5 million into our Western Australia fertiliser facilities, so we can get trucks in quicker and with less hassle. We're linking our digital app, our agronomy apps, back to the Western Australian fertiliser stores so that we can get our precision blends done as soon as they've been recommended by the agronomists. And all of this is designed to make less fuss and a more convenient partner for our growers. So the combined business is also important and critical contributor to rural and regional towns. At a macro level, the Landmark business has paid $150 million tax in the last 3 years. At a micro level, we've committed $2 million every year into organisations such as we've just committed 3 years to Lifeline. But more importantly than that, we put $2 million into the sporting clubs, the netball club, the CWAs, and all the things that keep these country towns alive. And probably more important than that, a lot of our people are volunteering their time and are actually the people that are organising this and living and working in these towns, and again, volunteering their time to keep these organisations vibrant. So in conclusion, what I'd say is we believe the coming together of this business, it really presents an opportunity for agriculture. We've got a strong parent company that's got a big balance sheet that wants to contribute and wants to invest into the Australian agriculture scene. Investment in agriculture has been a long-term issue for the Australian market, and achieving growth needs dollars invested to get there. Beyond that, we think that the coming together of our people is really the jewel in the crown in this. Having the expertise in rural and regional Australia is what gives this business the edge, and ultimately providing profitability and sustainability for our growers is at the core of what will keep our business alive, and that's what we're focused on. So thanks for the opportunity, and certainly open to take some questions if you'd like to ask any.